Let's talk now to Duncan Buchanan, who's the Policy Director for England and Wales of the Road Haulage Association. Thank you so much for patiently waiting to speak to us as you watch and wait for detail on this phone call. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that regardless of whether a deal is struck or not, that we're already too late to have a supply chain that is going to be fully functional by the 1st of January. Regardless of whether a deal is done or not, there is not enough time to prepare all of the businesses and put in place the systems that are required to have a fully functioning border by the 1st of January for road freight services tracking the continent.
Let me take it in stages. In terms of that sort of detail, I'll explore that more in a moment. But in terms of your analysis, if you're right, what do you think the consequences will be come January the 1st?
There is going to be massive supply chain disruption for road freight services operating between Great Britain and the European Union. That is now inevitable. What we're going to see, if there is no deal and if there is no arrangement for UK hauliers to enter the EU in quantity after the 1st of January, that will make it even worse. A deal in that context is actually useful because it means that our trucks can get into the EU without needing special permits. It's going to be a mess with the paperwork. There is a lack of customs agents to do the necessary data entry, and we will not have a tough time to onboard the data from all of the customers that are going to need it. And that is here in the UK. But also, the problem is just as bad on the EU side for EU businesses. They're actually probably further behind than UK businesses in most cases.
Tell me what the problem is, because for weeks, for months, the British government has been saying to businesses, get prepared, these are the potential changes. So what is it that you would have liked to see happen that hasn't happened?
The most fundamental thing that has not happened is that we have not had a stable regime to work against. We've not had complete information on all of the processes that are needed. I'll give you an example of just in the last week or 10 days, customs commodity codes, we're supposed to use 10 digits. They changed that to 8 digits. It's now back at 10 digits in the last few days. People have been adjusting their paperwork to work on 8-digit commodity codes. They're now told it's 10 digits again. That type of information, it sounds really obscure, but that is fundamental to actually processing the paperwork correctly. And if you don't have correct paperwork, you go nowhere when you hit a border.
And is that your members' fault or the government's fault? Because I know you've written several times to ministers to alert them to what you say are the head-on problems coming their way.
There has been serious complacency in officialdom in parts of government, and ministers have not really got a grip of the complexity of running a supply chain across a customs border. They think it's going to be a little bit like it is now, just a little bit slower. It is not. It is fundamentally different. You are talking about major paperwork issues, complicated issues with hundreds of individual commodities on a truck. That's 100. You know, if you have 100 commodities, you have 100 customs declarations on both sides of the border. This is hugely complicated, and that's before we even get into the issue of live animals or food and vet checks and all of those sorts of things. We are nowhere near prepared on either side of the border to operate efficiently.
Duncan, we've run out of time, but thank you so much for joining us here on BBC News. Thanks so much for your time.
Sorry to cheer you up so much.